just getting myself together because today is Shabbat and it is Shalom Shabbat. Coming to you from reggae2reggae.com, and it is time to celebrate life.me. So today I'm going to be looking at all. Oh, my scarf is up in the tree. However, wonderful. Today we are going to be looking at our usual shows of Shalom Shabbat. Every Saturday or every Sabbath, we will be doing our Shalom Shabbat. And one of the things that will be a feature of every Shalom Shabbat program will be our outfits, right? I will be representing a different nation. And last week, I think it was, we had on the Israeli national costume, and we spoke about the significance of Shabbat and Israel. And today I'm wearing an Indian outfit, and this is called a shalwar kameez, right? And it is a pair of ladies' slacks covered by a dress on the top. So that's how it is. And guess what? You can make this by yourself. You know, it's just really comfortable and it is really beautiful. Because what I like, this is my favorite area of clothing, by the way, India and Pakistani, because their clothes are just beautiful, whether it's in the day or in the evening, with a lot of, embroidery and pieces of glass and lots of beading. And so you'll be seeing a lot of these from time to time. But we need to understand that as spiritual Jews, we are part of a nation of Jews. And therefore, we can wear anything that any of these nations wear. Remember, that when you think about the fact that we are a different nation within a nation, then we have to make sure that we scrutiny is all right. I call it a mindi or a scrutiny, and it's a part of the dress of the Indians. And we have different colors, which would determine whether you are married or you're widowed or you're single. So all the guys have to do is just look on and see, is what color is she wearing? What sort of design is it? Blah, 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 blah. But I don't know why it looks sort of lean. It's straight. Is it? Yes, wonderful. Well, so I have on my scrutiny, and I have some stuff that I want to sort of make you familiar with. I'm not into stuff, but I just happen to have a very large collection of artwork, and I wanted to share it with my viewers as they related to me, because I don't even know who is the author or the painter or the artist that does most of my stuff. I don't even look at who it is. I just look at the piece. And when it says something to me, I say, wow, got to have that. And so I have people come into my home and say, oh, you got an X? Oh, you got an X? And I haven't a clue who the artist is, because that's not important. When you are going to collect any kind of art, it must communicate with you. And so today I wanted to show you one little piece that I bought in Israel. And this is a plate that is made out of bits and pieces of ceramics. And I'm going to bring it up a little closer, and we are going to look at it. Now, on it is a bowl of fruit, and the Israelis and the whole nation of Israel, they have so many festivals, and their festivals are all about food and celebration. And so I encourage you to adapt their lifestyle. I have adapted their lifestyle because that is what keeps me always celebrating. So Here we have the fish, and remember the fish was a sign that they used to draw in the sand or draw on rocks to say that the Christians were here. So more about this later. And because celebration and food is a part of their lifestyle, I like to wear clothing that makes me look like I am celebrating all the time. Over here, I have my prayer shawl. You know, for all of these things, they have these Hebrew names and so on. I'm not interested in them. This is a prayer shawl. And the Jews, mostly the men, used to wear it whenever they go to the um, temple or they go to the synagogue. And everything has significance. But I want to point out one thing to you, which is just really significant for me. When it talked about touching the hem of his garment, Jesus used to have these tassels on the end. They're called tzitzi, T-S-I-T-S-I. And these long tassels here were on the hem of this long shawl, and they were also sometimes on the hem of his outer garment. And that is what the lady with the issue of blood touched, and the power came out of it. And it's not because it had any power, but because it was being worn by Jesus. And so, as a point of reference, when I went to Israel, I bought one of these along with a lot of other stuff. And I had this hanging on my bed head. And when I no longer had a bed head, I had it spread out in the middle of my bed every day after I've made my bed. And so I have it as a point of contact. And I remember when I had some health challenges, I would just reach up on the bed head and touch the hem as a point of contact. It has no magical powers, but you have the opportunity of using these things as a point of contact and understanding its significance. We're going to be talking more about other things like the shofar and so on as we go along. But today it's Shalom Shabbat. And I want to talk a little bit more about the significance of Shalom and the significance of Shabbat. As we know, the significance of Shabbat is Sabbath, seventh day, God rested. And so we need to rest if God rested on the seventh day. So we won't go into anymore. And it's not an issue of whether you're a Saturday worshiper or a Sunday worshiper. I worship on both days. In fact, I worship on every day because we need to understand that the concept of worship is not one of going to a place. It is one of enjoying and appreciating the gifts of God. First of all, the gift of God himself to me. And secondly, all the other gifts that he has blessed me with that I want to enjoy and celebrate on that day. So how do I spend my Shabbat? I spend my Shabbat, first of all, I spend the first 2 hours alone. Nobody else. Not husband, not children, nobody else. Alone with my Creator, my Lord. And we just have a wonderful time together. Usually, at the end of 2 hours, I think it's 5 minutes gone because we have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to just laugh about. We have a lot to just bawl about. And it's just really a wonderful time. Well, after that 2 hours is gone, then the rest of the time, I enjoyed all those wonderful gifts, the gifts of the talents he has given, the gifts of the environment, especially this country. We have the most beautiful country in the world. And I sometimes go to the beach. I will go and visit friends. I will serve other persons. I will do anything but work. Whatever I do must be restful, rejuvenating, and restful and rejuvenating. Yeah. Those two, very, very important, because rest rejuvenates, and all those relationships that you engage in that are positive and energizing, those are the ones that you should engage in. And this is why Shabbat is my most enjoyable day. Now, when I was growing up, my father was an elder in the Brethren Church. And so, Sunday was a day when no noise, no playing, no running up and down. And so, when Sunday morning came, we just knew that we had to be quiet and on our best behavior, because we had to put on our best clothing and we had to go and be good children at church. Well, as I matured and learned more of the fact that God does a poopa lick over me, Zephaniah 3:17, it says that he is so enamored and joyous over his children when they come into obedience to him, that he actually does a little twirl and a flip over. And that's the truth. The word is K-U-L-L. K-H-U-L, sorry. And that means doing one of those spins and flips because you're clamorously, foolishly joyous over something. That's why I always do a cartwheel in my dances. People want to know, why do you always do that? Because I want to remember that God is doing a flip over me. And so, what's wrong with doing a flip? Huh? Right. So, remember that Shabbat and Sunday are supposed to be joyous days when you celebrate every moment of the day. But no work. Rest, rejuvenation, re-energizing. So today we want to look at some more aspects of how we embrace that shalom. And I was looking back at my programs and I realized that I use this word embrace over and over and over. Why? Because I love to snuggle, I love to embrace, I love to hug up. And that is because as human beings, we need 13 hugs to be psychologically whole a day, every day. So long ago, when we were instituting our family devotions, which we had from I got married to my late husband, family devotions. And family devotions meant everybody in our household. We used to call them household devotions. And we had them when everybody came to work, all our staff, whoever it was. And then neighbors would pop by as well. And so after the devotions, one of the most exciting times was hugging everybody, and you had to get 13 hugs. So there were 13 people, then it's one each. But if there were less people, then you had to double up. And of course, you ended up squeezing people and lifting them up, super baby style. And I just really enjoyed that time. And there were so many people who worked with us that was the only time they got a hug. And so we need to understand that good touch transfers so much, not just energy, but it transfers the love that Christ died for us to give us, and also the love that God made us with and that he wants us to express to others. So I thought that today I would look at the relationship between Shabbat, Shalom, and love. When we think about love, we very often think about a feeling. It makes your tummy flutter, and it also makes you feel sort of out of control. And I've been in love so many times that I know this feeling very, very well, right? So this feeling is something that most of us have experienced. Whether we have an object that reciprocates or not is not the issue. But most of us, sometimes we have it for a movie star. And, we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But I think it's time for a break. So, break. See you back in a couple seconds.
On reggae2reggae.com, we encourage our listeners with an inclusive, intelligent, and innovative alternative media experience. On reggae2reggae.com, we encourage our listeners with an inclusive, intelligent, and innovative alternative media experience.
Now, things have got to change. Somehow I know it's got to be rearranged.
Well, we were talking about the relationship between love and shalom right here on celebratelife.me on reggae2reggae.com. So don't go away, because every single one of us needs to understand the relationship between being at absolute peace and rest and how love comes into it. Because I was talking to you about the feeling that you have in your tummy when you are in love. But that's not the kind of love I'm talking about. That's great. That is what you call eros love. That you have for that special someone. And you want to spend all your time just expressing and exchanging everything with them. I am talking about a higher love and a nicer love and a better love that God puts in our hearts and that He has for us all the time. It's unconditional and it's everlasting, and it's called agape. It means that that love always has our best in mind and expresses itself all the time. And so you can depend on that love to be there all the time. And guess what? If you learn to really embrace it, hug it up, and make it a part of your being, then you can express that love to everybody that you come in contact with. And guess what? They will return it, because that kind of love is irresistible. Absolutely irresistible. And so I'm going to explain to you a little bit more about this agape love. Now, the two characteristics that it has, which are the two main characteristics of God, is it's everlasting, never ends. Nothing can turn it off. And secondly, it is unconditional. So it doesn't matter what the other party does or does not do, whether you get any reciprocation or not, you are going to continue loving that person. And that is the kind of love I have tried to employ in all my eros relationships. Because if you do not apply that love to your eros relationships, that is husband and wife and very special significant others, then your eros love going to come and go and come and go. That's why you have divorces, because the persons involved in the marriage or in the relationship do not know how to apply agape love to their eros love. And the same thing applies to your filial love. Your filial love is a love you have with friends and brothers and sisters and, non-intimate, significant other type of love, non-sensual love. Okay? That is the filial type. And that is what you should have for everybody else. And then attach on a piece of the agape love. How are you going to know how to do it? How do you know what agape love does? Just look at God, because it says God is love. And guess what? The converse is also true. Love is God. So if you say you love somebody and you do not employ those two characteristics of God, that is, the unconditionality and the everlasting, never ending love, then your love can change and go in and out the window. Now, one of the things when I learned this discovery, I had this discovery way back. I was in my 20s, and a lot of my late 20s, and a lot of my friends were already married. And I went into my 30s, I still was not married, and I remember all my friends by this time had been in their relationships for, 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 9 years, and they would come and talk to me about this horrible time that they were having. And I said, oh my goodness, I don't want to ever get married. And so I am going to start developing this agape love for every single person that I have any relationship with, because I am not ever going to go that route. When the wives would come and tell me, "Me dear, he did X, Y, and Z today," and then have them to come into the bed, I just turn my back and say, "I have a headache." And I thought to myself, oh, is that the way to go? Is that agape love? No, it's not. But you cannot love your partner the way you need unless you are able to receive the agape love from your Creator. And so I decided to study about this love and talk to my Creator about it. I said, God, I want to have this love for every person I come in contact with. And I said, I don't ever want to have any more relationship with anybody until I am able to have this kind of love. And so he says, well, you can't wait until you meet a special person. You have to express this kind of love in your filial relationships. Those are your, what we call platonic relationships. Those of your friends and your brothers and sisters, and just relationships that didn't have any sensual part to it. And so I decided to work on that. Boy, it took me almost 10 years. And so I did not think I was ready for marriage until I was able to give to my husband eros love and agape love. Because when you give eros love and agape love mixed together, you can't turn over in the bed and say, I have a headache. You have to do everything based on what is in the book. Because the book says the only time you can turn over and not consent to certain intimacies is when you have both agreed that you will abstain in order to engage in prayer. Mutual agreement. And so, in my X years of marriage, from 35 to 64, I never said no. And with joy, because God has a promise to give you when you obey the words of this book. Just a little tip for marriages that want to last until they can do the 21-year celebration. Now, when it comes to loving your general persons around, the love that you are required to give should be no different from the love you give to your brother and sister, or the love you show to your employees, or the love you show to the young men on the street. And so we need to understand that when God says He has one commandment, and that commandment is the most important one, He knows why. Because that commandment says, you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And then you will be able to love yourself the way He loves you. And then when you love yourself that way, you can love anybody as yourself. You see? But you see, it has to come down to your loving yourself. And I'm still in process. Because guess what? Change is the only thing that will bring us to our destination that we need to go to. And we have to be willing to change. Time break again. This is so exciting. So come back here.
Since the first public demonstration of radio by Nikola Tesla in 1893, no one ever thought of putting the 2 hours of music together until we created reggae2reggae.com. Since the first public demonstration of radio by Nikola Tesla in 1893, no one ever thought of putting the 2 hours of music together until we created reggae2reggae.com.
Somehow I know things have got to change. Somehow I know it's got to be rearranged.
Wonderful. And so we're talking about this, engaging this agape love in all your relationships. But guess what? I want to go back now to how you should spend your special day of rest and recreation. I mentioned that for my own, I spend the first 2 hours alone with my Creator, where He can download into me all this wonderful love and how He expresses it to me and how I need to express it to other people. And He downloads, apart from that, information about everything. When I say everything, about my health, about my wealth, about my peace, my love, my joy, my desire. I get a lot of my designs during this time. I get ideas of business proposals. I get, when 2 hours are finished, I can hardly drag myself away. And as I said, the other part of the day is spent enjoying all the other gifts that we are given. And guess what? I had the most wonderful start of Shabbat yesterday evening. I went to a recital at the Pegasus, and it was put on Nicole Miller Sings for STEP, the STEP Center. Now, the STEP Center is a small school, has about 23 students, and has a capacity to do 30, and it's for persons with multiple disabilities. And so the children are in wheelchairs, they have multiple disabilities. And so there was this recital, and the headliner was, let me not get her name incorrect because I am telling you she was absolutely fabulous. Right, Nicole Henry. She is the best jazz singer in the world. I am telling you. And I have never seen anybody who can express their craft and art with such abandonment and total involvement. Never, except me. Anyway, and along with her, the headliner, she was the headliner, and the person who opened for her was Najee Leslie. Now, for those who do not know, Najee also flew in from the US. Nicole is an American. Najee is a Jamaican studying in the US, and she flew in to do her bit on violin. And I am telling you, it was just heavenly because she also has that passion whenever she is communicating to those around. And that is what Shabbat, Shalom is all about. When you think about those gifts that you have been blessed with, this is the opportunity during this time to not work, but to give those blessings. And I know that I'm going to be dripping wet in tutus because my fan is not on. Anyway, back to this. Yes. So, Najee Leslie and Nicole Henry. Oh my goodness. They gave sterling performances. And I just sat there and just listened and smiled and swayed and tapped and just, oh, I was just out of myself. And so this is how we need to express whatever gifts we have that the Creator has blessed us with. So that we can really bless others. That's how we need to spend our Shabbats and our Sundays. Worship in worship. And what is worship? Worship is appreciating your Creator for everything He has done and everything He is. And He is the provider and the giver of abundant gifts to every single one He has created, including those children who have multiple challenges. Because guess what? Every person that He made with a purpose to prosper them and give them a future, a hope, and success. And these children have been the channel for us to bring these two artists to share with us. They have been also the channel to develop all the sorts of developments and innovations that have resulted in their giving an opportunity to other people to express love. So every time you see something that appears to be negative, it is God's opportunity to pull those gifts that He has put into you to share with exuberance and excitement with those who are around. So those people are not less fortunate than us who are able-bodied and have our minds the way we think they should be. Because I've often said that a lot of people who are considered mad are sane. Because guess why are they sane? Because they do what they think they should do, regardless of what people around are saying. And that is one aspect that we can learn from those persons who will not conform to what the society says or what X, Y, and Z says. Remember, we have one person that we need to answer to, and that is our Creator. He will never tell us to do something that is immoral. He will never tell us to do anything that is bad for us or other persons. But there are times when He will tell us to do things that are illegal. But then we have to be willing to bear the consequences. But only to operate based on what He says. And so this is why I keep drumming into my head that I cannot make my decisions based on what anybody else is going to think or say. I need to keep my decisions focused on what my Creator wants me to do. Because in the final analysis, because He has a perfect plan for my life, He is going to work everything together. And that thing about working everything together is when I go outside of where I should be. That's not part of His perfect plan. But He will even take those things and work them together for my good, for His good, for the advancement of the kingdom, and for the good of all. So remember, when you follow the Creator's plan, which is here, then you are in a win-win situation where everything that you do, as directed by this book, is going to benefit you, benefit others, and advance the kingdom of God. And so I want to encourage you to learn and embrace the love that is given to you by our Creator, because that is the only thing that will get rid of the number one problem that every human being has: low self-esteem. Every single one of us was born with low self-esteem. And part of God's plan for us is to start getting rid of it as soon as we are aware that we have it. And how do we start getting rid of it? By coming into sync with, synchronizing with, and agreeing with whatever God says about us. Who are we? When we agree that we are who God says we are, then we will be able to embrace who He has made us to be, and then get rid of that poor self-image. Because guess what? All of us struggle with it. Either you don't like how your nose stay, or you don't like how your hair stay, or you don't like you're too short, you're too fat, you're too slim, all sorts of things. Or you don't have enough of this. But guess what? Let's just patch into some of the things that the Creator says about us. First of all, when He created us, He said it was good, very good. And it doesn't matter whether you are born with a disability or not. I was born with 4 ankles, and I was hopping around on these 4 ankles. And for the first few years of my life, mashing up every shoes. The shoes wouldn't even last for a week because my feet were so deformed that they would twist up the shoes. But guess what? That deformity, which I thought was a big disadvantage, because I had to wear soldier boots with iron in them, and I was so upset that everybody had on their little dainty shoes and I had to wear soldier boots. Well, all of it was a part of God's plan to bring me into the place where I became an vertical dancer and danced all over the world. That was the indication that I needed to stop, pay attention to what's wrong, so that you can give your Creator the opportunity to correct it. The other thing is that it's the same thing for Shabbat. The reason for Shabbat is to stop, rest, go into reflection, and review, so that you can see what is the next step that your Creator wants you to take. And therefore, what is the next step upwards along your journey to get to where you need to be. So this time, I'm going to break on time. And it's time for another break. And I'll be right back.
On reggae2reggae.com, we encourage our listeners with an inclusive, intelligent, and innovative alternative media experience. Since the first public demonstration of radio by Nikola Tesla in 1893, no one ever thought of putting the 2 hours of music together until we created reggae2reggae.com.
Saw a bird flew down this morning as if he's saying something to me.
We're back, and guess what? We have spoken about all the principles of Shabbat. Not all of them, but those that we're discussing today. And it's time now to put them into practice. How do you turn all this information that I have been giving you into knowledge? Now, remember, my people perish for a lack of knowledge. And here it is. You have a lot of information given on the show. How do you turn it into knowledge? And one thing I want to remind you of is that the issue of information is just that. Information. We all have loads and loads of information. In fact, this is the age of information overload. And that is why I don't even look on the newspaper. I don't even turn on television. I don't go to the computer for any research because my brain clogs up, right? And I just decide that, guess what? The only information, the only knowledge I need is in this book. And so I am going to go to this book for everything. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just telling you what works for me. So find out what works for you. And we're going to put this information that we spoke about today into knowledge. Knowledge means that you have intimate, experiential times with the information. So as we attempt to put this love of the Creator into our lives 24/7, so that we can have peace or shalom 24/7. This is how you do it. 1, you say, Father, you are my Creator. You know how I work best. So I am giving over the reins. That's REINS, not RAIN. That too. But I am giving over all of the control of my life to your Spirit, which you have put in me. And I would like you to activate that Spirit. And once that Spirit is activated, because of my total surrender to you, then that Spirit will talk to me more audibly. And it's not that it wasn't talking before. It's that you were suppressing it, and every time your mind did tell you to do something, you do the other thing. Or when you had a gut feeling that you shouldn't do X, you wouldn't listen to it. Now you have the opportunity of benefiting from all those thoughts that you had, and you wondered who it was, all those feelings that you had, and you wondered where they came from. You will know, like you know that it came from your Creator, and you need to respond to it immediately, and you will reap the benefits of it. So that is how you turn information into knowledge, because you know all these verses. You could have quoted them. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. But why do you fail? Because you have not attempted to engage that inner power, love, and a sound mind to do what you need to do. And then the other half of it is why a lot of people don't do things, because they are inadequate. And guess what? You are. But when you embrace that spirit that is within you, then you can do all things, not just but exceeding abundantly above what you could ask or think. Remember what I said last program? You have to ask, seek, be persistent, analyze, research it out in the book, and knock until you get the answer. And the second part of it is that you've got to recognize and embrace who God says you are. He says, you are my masterpiece. You are the best thing that I have created for this time, in this season, at this particular place, in this family, for there is nobody quite like you. And you need to recognize that. Anytime you feel inadequate, stand up before the mirror and you speak to yourself and say, I am the best thing created at this time, in this season, for this job of building Jamaica and the whole human race. And every single one that God has created, He has created for an eternal purpose. And if you don't do your part, He's not putting anybody else in there to do it. He's going to raise up the rocks to do it. And I don't want no inanimate object as in rock. And you know, rock may not be able to move by itself, but it is not an inanimate object because it is alive. It has live enzymes, and a lot of them have enzymes, protein, chlorophyll, what are the other two? Vitamins and minerals in the rocks. So they can grow, they can do things, but that's the subject of another show when we look at paleontology and anthropology. But moving back to here, understand that you are the only person who can be that link in the chain, who can be that cog in the wheel, who can be that joint that joins two bones or two situations together. You are very, very important and you cannot be replaced. So step into your destiny and decide that you're going to do this because you can do it. You have everything. You have been empowered with the three things. Remember, the thief comes to kill, steal, and destroy. But your Creator came to give you life and life abundant, abundant health, abundant wealth, abundant peace, abundant love, and abundant joy. Why? Because He wants you to do what He has directed you to do and He has given you. Not a spirit of fear, because that is the only reason when we don't or why we don't do what we have a vision and a dream to do. He has not given you the spirit of fear, but of love. But the first one He's giving is power, then love, and a sound mind or self-control to do what He has mandated you to do. So let me tell you something today. Embrace this wonderful relationship that we have been given the opportunity of being a part of and of being successful at. And then you will be able to really enjoy your Shabbat by having a real Shalom Shabbat, where everything is in perfect upright order, nothing missing and nothing broken. So as we go out, we've got 5 minutes left, and I'm going to be talking about and reading to you. You're going to read it along with me. You're going to say it along with me. Our national pledge. And I'm here to tell you it has become dark. And so I need to have my light turned on over here so that I can see this fine print. But my producers is not listening, so let me do it myself. Okay, here we go. Now, we are going to read and say, those who know it by heart, our national pledge. And here it is. This is direction that our Creator, our Lord God Almighty, has given us for Jamaica to move forward so that we can realize everything that He created this country for. So here we go. Every one of us has a part to play. And it is in not just speaking the information here, but putting from information into knowledge every aspect of our national pledge. So I pledge before God and all mankind, I pledge the love and loyalty of my heart, the wisdom and courage of my mind, the strength and vigor of my body in the service of my fellow citizens. I promise to stand up for justice, brotherhood, and peace, to work diligently and creatively, to think generously and honestly, so that Jamaica may, under God, increase in beauty, fellowship, and prosperity, and play her part in advancing the welfare of the whole human race. Remember, you were created for purpose and eternity. You are a part of God's plan for this land, for this hemisphere. Now, you are the best thing that has been created in this season, for this time, for building Jamaica and the whole human race. So let's get cracking. Let's start to hone all the skills. Let's patch into and write down our visions and our dreams. And remember, the more grand they are, the better, because then you will need to engage the input and the resources that the Creator has made. But remember, there's a way. You must ask, verbalize it, speak it into being. Then you must seek, research all the ways that you need to find out about how to put this dream in and vision to come into reality. Write it down. Write down all of that. And then after you have done that, you got to knock. Be persistent and don't stop knocking until the door opens. And remember my two things that I said you have to use as an overrider, because you don't want to get to the place where you're going to say, well, I wonder if this is right, or I wonder if that is wrong. You know what I suggest that you do? You pursue every single thing that comes into your mind and heart and spirit. That's what I did. And so a lot of them flop. But guess what? The journey along the way was one where I was growing and learning and being exposed to new things that may not have been a part of my sort of a specific dream and vision. But guess what? It gave me the opportunity to be exposed to so many things that I can relate to so many different people. So remember, everything that comes into your heart, pursue it immediately. Write it down if you can't do it. And then you put an overrider on the end. Father, you know me. You know what is best for me. And so I give you permission to shut any door that you don't want me to walk through. And I give you permission to delay the answer to my request or my question until I am ready to receive it and to embrace it and to run with it. So that's my challenge to you this week, that you will write it down, embrace it, and attempt to do it now with the two overriders. And I am here to tell you, then you'll be able to celebrate every single solitary day of your life. So join me tomorrow again at 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock. Or remember that you can see all of my programs on reggae2reggae.com. Just go to Video Lane and click on the video in that little white box. It's going to say chat, stream, and video. Click on the video and just scroll down until you see Celebrate Life, and you know that's one of my programs. There will be a date and you can go back and listen to this program over and over and over because repetition is important. So this is why we're streaming to you live from reggae2reggae.com, and also all of the other wonderful bits of information that you want to turn into knowledge is available for your review. You're going to get everything from Reggae to Reggae in real time, but it's also there for review. See you tomorrow when we're going to be doing a wonderful Lord's Day program. You can't afford to miss this. Tomorrow. Shalom. Shabbat.
Sitting on the limb of a tree, giving me a sound of sweet melody. I guess he's trying to tell me something that I should know.